Good day, good morning, or good evening, whatever it is. You chose to click on the video, so you might as well pull up a chair and stay. Pelicans Daily presented by Fan Arts. I'm your host, Dylan Bruton. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. This ain't no fire drill. You know the deal. Let's get right to it. Now, I know in the aftermath of this crazy NBA Finals that just happened with OKC and the Pacers, shout out to the Thunder, proof that you can still win by building naturally as a team. But now with the trades, there's been trades going on this whole entire time. You know, first with the Desmond Bain to Orlando, then with us getting the 23rd pick from the Pacers, then KD to the Rockets. Now, just now, CJ, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. He's going up to DC, and we got some players. I'm gonna get to it, but it's gonna be the entree. Let's give y'all some appetizers. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. But we gotta talk about this draft because this draft is very important. Draft coming up. I believe. Let's see. The date is draft is tomorrow, y'all. Huh. The draft is tomorrow for the first round at least, and then they this year they're splitting it up as opposed to doing it in one day, which I think that's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out. But as previously just mentioned, we got the 23rd pick. We have the 7th pick, but with that 23rd pick, I think that's going to be a very important pick because picks that when you nail a pick well at pick 23, right? That sets you up for future success when you're able to find a great player in that pick in that 20th pick range that maybe wasn't the highest on everybody's board, but had certain intangibles that you can't teach, had a certain skill set that is transmittable to the pros right from the jump, brings a different energy. You don't take that for granted. Not at all. Not at all. And a guy that I think that would be a perfect fit for us, like absolutely, he screams New Orleans Pelicans player, Mr. Neek Clifford from Colorado State. Now, Neek Clifford, 6'5", 6'6", guard forward, from Colorado originally. I played at Colorado, and then he transferred his last 2 years, played at Colorado State. Now, as a guy who personally, I got a soft spot for people who took their time in graduating and finish college, because it ain't no easy road, and it's not about how you start the race, but how you finish it. Think about the tortoise and the hare, and he's 6'5", 6'6", as I said, 6'8" wingspan, and he really upped his play this year. One of the most impressive seniors, upperclassmen in this draft and in the NCAA. Averaged 19, nearly 10 boards, 4 assists, a steal. 50% from the field, 38 from 3, 77, 78 from free throw line. And he was a big reason for why Colorado State was able to surprise some folks in this NCAA tournament this past year. And I think he's a guy that is going to come in with a maturity and a readiness that you can't beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it always helps to have that. He shot 66% on catch and shoot opportunities. He was a third team All Mountain West, which I'm kind of like, how did he not get first team? You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Started his career at Colorado, only averaged about 4.5 a game, 3 boards and assists, which aren't terrible numbers, but that's not going to get you drafted to the NBA unless you have insane potential and a ceiling that is like so unshakably, undeniable. But when he got to Colorado State his last 2 years, he upped his stats up to 16 a game nearly, 9 boards, 4 assists, and a steal to go with 51% from the field, 38 from 3, and 78 from the free throw line. So, I mean, this is a guy who has been through the fire. This is a guy who has had to work, had to grind, had to put in the time to get to where he's at now. And with guys like those, they come into the league with a whole different mindset than someone who's been a star their whole life. And not saying that you can't still have a strong work ethic and be a star and be like a prodigal type of player. But it hits a little differently when you've been someone who has been, doubted. You're someone who hasn't been given all the proper respect. You're someone who has gone underrated and had to fight and claw their way. It hits a little different, and guys like those fit perfectly to what type of culture that President Dumars and Mr. Weaver are trying to build up in New Orleans. And I think that as a player, he's got such a versatile skill set. He's able to do so much. He's not just a 3-and-D guy. As much as people are like quick to throw that label on players nowadays, like just cause like, oh, he could shoot three, he could play defense 3-and-D. But no, Neek can actually handle the ball. He can create for himself. He's got a very nice mid-range game. He's got a post game even, right? There's I think his, people are like, he's 24, he's old. I'm like, I'm 26, so I'm not gonna comment. But but as a player, right, when you're able to step in and contribute from day one, it hits different. You know what I'm saying? And the guys that he's been compared to all kind of fit the bill of guys that were polished players coming out of college and added another level once they got to the league. But he's been compared to Derek White, which I think is a perfect comparison. It's ironic, both guys from Colorado, similar high school, experience and collegiate. And it took a while for them to like get to where they're at. But Derek White is one of the best six-man / starter, a guy who's a borderline all-star. He likely can become one. I forgot, right? The Trailblazers and the Celtics made a big trade last night, getting Drew Holiday in exchange for Anthony Simons. So, who won that trade? Only time will tell. But I think that Derek White has a chance to be an all-star this year, with Tatum's hurt injury and with Drew out and likely Porzingis out next. So I think that Derek White could actually be an all-star. I don't think that's crazy. But I think that's a good comparison for him, too. If you get a Derek White at pick 23, you're a happy team. Chris Middleton, who was a second-round guy himself. Chris Middleton was at A&M, got drafted to the Pistons. Took him a while to find his footing, goes to the Bucks. Now, one of the best second, third options, wins a championship in 2021. Because, Derek White won in 24. Middleton won in 21 with the Bucks. And he's all-star, carved out a very respectable career for himself. Another guy that he's been compared to, Josh Hart, kind of like a do-everything glue guy. And, Josh had some great years with us. You know what I'm saying? It sucks that we weren't able to keep him because I think he's like the perfect type of Swiss Army knife. But the Knicks, he's showing his impact. You know what I'm saying? They went to the Eastern Conference semis last year, and this year they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, he's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Came from a winning pedigree at Villanova as a part of that national championship team with guys like Brunson, Mikal Bridges, DiVincenzo. You know what I'm saying? That commercial was everywhere of them. Another guy he's been compared to, Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson is a guy that I think is a very underrated player. I think is a guy that, people are kind of wondering who is going to be next to Wemby, who's going to be next to De'Aaron, who's going to be next to Stephon Castle. But I think Keldon Johnson is a player that has shown and proven that he can be a valuable complementary piece. He was at Kentucky, and he did his thing there, and he's had a good career so far. Another guy has been compared to Desmond Bane, who I talked about a couple videos ago. Desmond Bane was at TCU, balled out, but went kind of under-regarded in the draft process. Goes to Memphis, shines, becomes one of their best, becomes a great third option for them, and he's going to be at Orlando, shot creating, drilling big threes next to Powell and Franz Wagner. I think that's a high level guy that you can aspire to. Another guy he's been compared to, Christian Braun, who right now, out of Kansas, now with the Nuggets, he's really been showing and proving that he's got a chance to level up continuously. And he upped his play immensely this past playoffs. He played a really good series against the Clippers. Then another guy that he's been compared to, this is a throwback player, but Doug Christie. They favor each other a little bit too. So I'm like, I wonder how much that's been influenced. But Doug Christie, on those Kings teams in the late '90s, early 2000s, one of the most respected 3-and-D players, one of the most respected defensive stoppers, and he was a guy that, hey, look, Kobe was Kobe. to me, second greatest player of all time after Mike. But Doug Christie used to make him work for those buckets, and Doug Christie now is the coach of the Kings. So it's kind of poetic, but played a valuable role on some very talented Kings teams that could have easily made an NBA Finals if they weren't going up against Kobe and Shaq. And then another guy, Cody Martin. Cody, not Caleb, but Cody, who very very underrated role player. Him and Caleb both are very gritty players, both very hard-nosed guys, but they put it out on the line. They don't need to get all the stats, but they could space the floor. They were both at UNR. I actually know people who know them, so kind of 6 degrees separation there. So as a whole, like a guy like Nick Clifford, like you're not at all mad at getting a player like him. You're not at all. So we get him at 23. Hey, that's a great pickup. Now, should we trade Jose Alvarado to the Hornets? I don't want to, but this was an interesting article that I came across. Now, in an article on Charlotte Hornets SI, Thomas Gorski talked about a potential trade between the Hornets and us. We would give up a lot, but we get the 4th pick. We would give up the 7th pick, the 23rd pick, 2031 first round pick, swap, and Jose. In exchange, get the 4th pick. Now, anytime you get a chance to move up in a draft like this, it's hard not to take that offer. It's very hard because this is a very talented draft. It's a very deep draft. And I think that, anytime you put yourself in a position to get the top level prospects, you're just always setting yourself up for success. And we don't know what's going to happen on this draft night. The Spurs might still try to make a move for Giannis, so that might impact things. And there might be other players that are looking to be moved. You know what I'm saying? So it plays an impact. But I wouldn't go for this trade personally, just because that's a lot to give up just to get the 4th pick. I feel like we can move up in the draft without having to do all that. Maybe I've been playing a little too much my GM in 2K, but I feel like we don't have to give up the farm in that sense. And Jose, is prime definition of a player who fought and clawed his way up to earn his respect. Love him. I'm saying he's a great energy to the city, a great addition to the roster. A guy that does so many little things that count. This past year, averaged 10 a game, 2 boards, nearly 5 assists, a steal. The efficiency could be a lot better, 39 from the field, 36 from 3, but 81 from the free throw line. But his impact, you feel it. He brings forth the energy that just unlocks everybody else. And guys like those, they're infectious. They're infectious to your organization, and you can't downplay the impact that they can have. So my vote is no, but hey, everyone has different perspectives and opinions. So y'all let me know. But I personally, no, I'm not with it. But hey. But now, let's get to why y'all really here. The Wizards and the Pelicans just as I'm speaking, because I literally was recording a video and I was talking about a potential trade with the Pistons. But this trade is huge. Huge. And I shout out to Shams. Shams was on it. You know what I'm saying? He's doing well in place of Adrian Wojnarowski with the Woj bombs. And big trade that just happened. So, y'all been hearing me almost rag on CJ, even though I love CJ. Like I said, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. We will miss you, CJ. We really will. You were great with us. You added a lot of value. You were consistent. You were available, right? I can't take none of that away from CJ. And, so he's going to be going to the Wizards as well as Kelly Olynyk in a future second-round pick in exchange for a guy who I talked about videos ago, Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey, and the 40th pick. And it's funny with Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey because they're both my age, both same age as me, both same graduating year. And I think that they both add a lot to the team automatically. Jordan Poole this past year bounced back after the first year he really struggled with Washington. Rebounded nicely. He averaged nearly 21 a game, 3 boards, nearly 5 assists, 43 from the field. 38% from three, and 88% from the free throw line. And Jordan Poole can play both the one, the two. He can create for himself. He can create for others. He's a guy that I mentioned, like when I was playing ball, I was a very showboaty type of player. So I got a soft spot for players like Jordan Poole, and I actually know, like, really know some people who know Jay Poole. So got nothing but love for Jay Poole. I love the way he plays, and I think that a team like the Pelicans, a team that is trying to build something new, but also already has pieces in place, I think it's good for him. And I think that President Dumars is going to have a very strong impact and influence, and even Coach Green. I mean, Coach Green was both Willie Green and Joe Dumars were twos that could also play the one, and I think having the influence and structure here is going to be better than what he was getting in Washington. And we've had a lot of questions about, okay, like with CJ, his age and his effectiveness, right? How do we go about that? DeJounte's hurt. We got other young guys in the wings like Jordan Hawkins, Brandon Boston, Antonio Reeves. How does that all fit out? But I think Jordan Poole is going to step in right away, be another shot creator. I think him and Zion are going to be throwing a lot of lobs to one another. So I'm very excited. Now, I don't want us to get rid of Herb or Trey, but in the event that it happens, I mean, it is a aggression, but not by too much. But Sadiq Bey. And Sadiq Bey has been, one of the better 3-and-D wings for a while in the NBA. The stats don't fully reflect, but his last year in Atlanta, because he was recovering from an ACL injury, he averaged 14 a game, 7 boards, 2 assists, 42 from the field, 32 from three, and 84% from free throw line. And that was in 23-24. He missed all this year recovering from ACL injury, but he's likely going to be back by training camp. So, a guy like him who, that 3-and-D, literally, can shoot, can play hard-nosed defense, is an aggressive rebounder. I like the fit. I think that, again, knowing the history of President Dumars and Troy Weaver, they want those hard-nosed players. They want those guys who are unafraid. And you need those guys to surround your offensively talented guys like Trey, like Zion, like now Jordan Poole, or even DeJounte. You need those guys who are, the Swiss Army knives. So if we don't get a Nick Clifford, but now we got a Sadiq Bey, then hey, that works out as well. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we get another big to pair next to Eve, or just to be another or maybe another floor spacer, because Kelly Olynyk was a good floor spacer for us and a good veteran, but he had some he was a bit of a defensive liability. But I think I'm gonna just go ahead and call it. I think we won this trade, like without a doubt, shadow of mine, no consideration. I think we won because we got younger, and we got a second round pick. I mean, who knows what that second round pick turns into, right? But we could snap someone who slides in the draft process that was a first round level talent. Now we pick them at 40. You're walking away from this happy. You're walking away from this feeling like we got something out of it. We won. And, this draft is going to be very interesting because I think that there's going to be some big surprises. There's going to be some big bombshells, and it's going to be crazy. So, and I can't wait to talk about it with y'all. But I think that at pick 40, we can get some great value. And it's still, you're right there. You're only 10 picks off the first round. So there's going to be some great value left. And I'm very excited to see who we end up picking. So now we've got 3 draft picks. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, I know what happened in 2019. But it ain't 2019 no more. It's 2025, y'all. It's time to have some hope, some faith. In President Dumars, we trust. In Troy Weaver, we trust. So I'm very excited. I think this is exactly the type of move that we should have made, that we should be making. And I think this is going to work out for us, Salute to CJ, salute to Kelly, and that future second round pick that we'll never know. But, best of luck in Washington, best of luck in the nation's capital. But now, it's a pool party, baby. It's a pool party. I think the city of New Orleans is gonna love Jordan Poole, and he's gonna love New Orleans. He's gonna love New Orleans. Look, if you know, you know. He's gonna love the Bayou. He's gonna love the Bayou. So I think we won that trade. I'm very excited. I think there's a lot to look forward to. Now, my favorite portion, responding to y'all. So again, thank y'all for the love and support. Thank y'all for the constant interaction with me, the feedback. It only makes me get better. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate y'all. Now, first I want to address my guy, Mark Semino, 4127. Now, y'all know where I stand on trading Zion. I ain't with it. But this is an interesting trade. So he was like, would you consider trading Zion to Philadelphia for Paul George and 3 first rounds and a second round pick? Okay. I'm a listen, even though I don't want us to get rid of Zion. But he was like, pick Trey with the 3rd pick, which I've talked about Trey Johnson coming to the Pelicans quite a bit. And so is Chris Lambert, so have other people. So, that's a possibility. We would still keep that 7th pick, picking Kamal Malak at 7. So we get that other big to pair next to Eve, another defender, and a guy with, I love Eve, but I think Kaman has a higher ceiling. But even still, you have a two twin tower lineup. You know what I'm saying? We saw the Pacers go with Miles and Pascal, and we just saw the Thunder with Hartenstein and Chet. So, I'm not opposed to that type of lineup. And then with the 23rd pick, Rasheer Fleming, who is a guy from St. Joseph's, if y'all haven't heard of him, very versatile, very athletic, one of the more athletic players of this draft, one of the most defensive ready prospects. But he can also space the floor as like an undersized, as a not undersized because he's 6'10", but as a guy who can play at both the 4 and the 3. Which we get size, we get a defender, and we get floor spacing. So I'm not opposed. And then, oh man, the second round pick, Sion James from my beloved Duke, with the second round pick. Now I'm not opposed either because Sion, he was a guy that he had to play behind Tyrese Proctor, he had to play behind Con Canopal. Obviously, everyone was Cooper. It was Cooper Mania, so he didn't get a chance to shine. And then Kaman was balling as well. So he didn't get really a chance to show and prove, but I think he's going to have a good pro career. I think he's going to be a guy that is going to add a lot of value to some teams' depth, some teams' bench. Overall, and then you still get then still getting PG. PG can still, this last year, no, but the year before that, PG was balling. PG was playing really well, put up some of his best numbers for his career. Efficiency wise, so I'm still no. I don't want us to give up Zion, but that's not a bad haul. And if we draft those type of guys, and we really think about the team fit, it could be a lot worse. And he put something to consider. So yeah, I'm gonna consider it. But President Dumars, if you can hear me, do not trade Zion. Do not keep him as an untouchable. And then last, now this one is more for the history. This is more for the lore of Hornets to Pelicans fans. But Mr. Hennessy Rob, who I've brought up before, he said J.R. Smith and Austin Rivers should have stayed Pelicans far longer. And I agree, especially J.R. Smith. I'll go back and watch that 2008 playoff series versus the Spurs. That was a very winnable series for us. And if we had another shot creator next to Chris Paul, because I love Mo Pete. Mo Pete was a very good 3-and-D player. Had some good years with the Raptors even. But a guy like J.R. Smith, yes, as erratic as sometimes he could be, he was one of the best shot creators at his position. And you pair that with a Chris Paul, who's a very stable presence, into a lineup already with Peja, David West, and Tyson Chandler. That would have made a huge difference. I think we could have at least gotten to the Western Conference Finals versus the Lakers. That's just my personal perspective. We were the 2 seed, and we just had the luck and fortune of running into the defending champs. But J.R. Smith at that time, J.R. Smith, was a very good player for the Nuggets. Was on that Western Conference team in 2009. Was 6th man of the year in New York for the Knicks. That Knicks team in 2013 that was really talented. Was a part of the Cavs team in 2016 that won the 3-1 comeback versus the Warriors. I mean, nothing but love for JR. I've actually met JR in person. Cool, man. One of the coolest athletes I ever met. I was at a GHO, if anybody knows about North Carolina A&T, and he went there briefly. He was actually on the golf team, and it was a very brief interaction, but he was mad cool, down to earth guy. So I would have loved for JR as well. And then he was in the dunk contest with us. I mean, granted, he didn't win, but he, that would have been fun. It would have been a lot of fun. It would have been a lot of fun at the very least. So, yeah. And then Austin, oh, man. As I mentioned before, Austin was my favorite high school hooper all time. Like, if you say, hey, look, favorite high school hooper, Austin Rivers. And I feel like Jordan Poole is in continuation of that type of legacy of, like, a two that can play the one, has that chip on his shoulder, has that cocky edge, but is going out there like, I want to embarrass you. I want to punk you. I want to make you look like a fool. I want to make you not pick up a basketball again. I love players with that type of asshole streak. Ooh, excuse my French. But you know what I'm talking about? I love those type of players because they add a whole different type of energy to it that is missing. You know what I'm saying? And they're okay with being the villain. They're okay with not being liked. They relish in it. But I'm a guy who I rooted for the heels over the baby faces in wrestling. So that just speaks to me. But yeah, I wanted Austin Rivers to work with us so bad. Y'all do not understand, man. I was playing franchise mode in 2K. You know what I'm saying? I turned us into champions. Real rap. 2K13, him and AD were like Kobe and Shaq out there. And I actually met Austin Rivers. Little brief funny story. I saw Dave Chappelle in stand up, and if any of y'all ever been to a Dave Chappelle stand up, he don't let nobody film. This was for one of his specials that actually got on Netflix, and Austin was there randomly, and so I couldn't get a picture with him, but I chopped it up with him. I'm like, yo, bro, like you was that dude coming up, man. Like, you favorite high school hooper, and this was before he was still in the league. It was like his last few years. But he's really killing it as an analyst. I really love his analysis. I love his podcast. So I'm always gonna root for Austin Rivers, and I feel like we didn't give him enough of a fair shake. He didn't even make it to his rookie contract, past his rookie contract. So I would have loved for that to have worked. I think honestly and truly, if he could have became the player that he became under his pops in LA with us, we weren't going to beat the Warriors in 2015, but it would have helped to have a player like him. Plus, having a player like Drew Holiday there, Eric Gordon, like we would have had just a stronger roster. We still could have gotten Boogie, later on. I mean, that team, that's a way different team. That's a way different team, a team with a lot more talent. So, yeah, Hennessy Rob, you just unlocked the core. You just unlocked the core memory. So, hey, much appreciated. But I know this video is long, but hey, you're here, you're rocking with me, and a lot just happened, so I had to cover it. I was excited to do this. I was mid-recording, and when I got that notification, so I had to say, and redo it all. But hey, it's all good. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot to talk about. Draft tomorrow. I'm so excited. I'm going to be yelling at my TV, yo. Real rap. I'm going to be yelling at my TV. Y'all should too. I think we're going to pick great at pick 7 and pick 23. Now we got pick 40. Let's see. Maybe we get another first round pick. Who knows? Maybe we get, who knows, man? Or maybe we flip those two picks into Giannis. Who knows? There's all kinds of possibilities. The future is bright. That's all I want to say to y'all. The future is bright. A new day is upon us. A new dawn is upon us. These ain't the same Pelicans of last year. So, hey, get with it or get lost. Okay? Okay? Can I keep it funky with y'all? Can I keep it real? You know what I'm saying? We bout it. Word to P. So, hey, I'm very excited for this upcoming year. Y'all should too. But again, it's been a blast as always. Keep showing the love. Keep showing the support. Appreciate y'all. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Make sure to tap in with Fan Arch on all social media platforms. They're killing it right now with their sports content. Keep supporting. Me. You know what I'm saying? You can follow me on the gram if you want to talk to me about the draft picks and who we should get, who we shouldn't. Show love. But that's going to be it. Stay blessed. Stay amazing. Have a great rest of the day. Ciao.